Open Gangnam Style. Oh, I didn't see you there. Welcome to my humble abode. This is actually Hogwarts because I'm wearing my Gryffindor cloak. But yes, anyway, so hello. I'm going to answer the last question, question 7, which is looking back at your prelim task. What do you feel you have learnt in the progression from it to the full product? So let's start with that. So basically, this is going to be a one-take wonder because I'm cool like that. I don't know what I'm saying. Hello. So basically, this is my prelim task. This was the first thing that we did in media, and as you can see, it's pretty bad. So that's fun. So I'm going to go through the bad points and why I think it's bad, and then I'm going to go through the good points. So basically, the bad points with this is that the writing is really, really, really small on the front. I was informed of this from other people. They were like, it's quite small and I can't read it. And I was like, no, it looks fine. It looks great. It looks great. And now I realise, actually, that is way too small. Because I've had smaller writing on my actual one. This is my actual one. That is the smallest writing that I could go to. And it was actually originally smaller than that, which would be about the size of this. And I had to enlarge it because you couldn't see it on the thing, which I didn't realise when I was doing this. Also, the colour scheme, I didn't change the background at all. I kept it the same background that it was in the original picture, so it was grey. And then I decided to put white writing over the top. Can you see it there? White writing there, which means that it's very difficult to see. I can't actually read. I can't really read what that says properly on the front, which is a bad point to it, because that just shows that no magazine would have white writing on a grey background, because you can't see it and you can't read it, and there's no point to that. If you can't read something, nobody's going to want to buy it, and that's something that I've learned, that if it's too small and if the colour blends in, it's not going to be able to be readable. Also, I did stick to my colour scheme, and we have a rule which is basically you should have black and white and then 2 other colours and no other colours, and I stuck to those. But I think that with, for example, with the barcode at the bottom, it's got a red outline and it's not very good. That's not good. When I was doing my final bit, I realised that because I had decided to put the image over the name, they usually only do that when you're actually familiar with the name of the magazine, whereas this one, you can still read that it says BIS, but usually you would have to properly be able to read that on the first issue, which I've named this the first issue, and I named this one the 22nd issue, so more people know that that is lo-fi, if that makes any sense. I really hope that that does, otherwise I've just rambled to you. I'm sorry about that. So basically, I think the main thing was the size of the fonts on here. Also, the size of the image. Usually on images on the front covers of magazine, the image is quite large, and this one's quite a small image, and the lovely girl on the front, her face is quite small, and usually you would have it quite large in the picture, so then it's quite eye-catching. You can see the difference. Also, you can see the difference here between the actual font sizes. Like, that's the biggest article in this one. This one's the biggest article in this one, and then the other articles have huge titles also, whereas this one isn't. Yeah. Basically, there was another thing that I noticed, that I realised, that I've learned from studying other magazines and then suddenly progressing over the year. I've learnt that you should put the date up here. That's the conventions in rock magazines, which I didn't do here. which I did do here. It's just a convention in any magazine, sorry, because this is a school magazine. Let's think of what else I was going to say about this one. Oh yeah, the lack of different fonts on this. The lack of different fonts. Basically, they all are the same font, more or less. Basically, it's about the maximum of 2 fonts on that front cover, whereas this one has probably over 20 fonts on it. I'll probably write down in the actual blog how many there are. But yeah, and it just shows that there's a lot of variety on this one, whereas there isn't really much and it looks plain and boring. One more thing that I want to say about this one and how I've realised other things is basically, on this one I didn't have anything that was like a competition on the front because I didn't feel that it was needed, because sometimes they don't have competitions on the front. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But I didn't think that it was needed on the front cover because, yeah. Whereas this one, it says very small words at the bottom, win tickets to see the latest movies. And usually when they do have a competition on the front of a magazine, they have it in quite a large bit of writing, because then it sticks out and other people can go, oh right, yeah, I can win something, let's buy this magazine. So yeah. One more thing, I priced this at 50p and I priced this one at £2.50 because the conventional amount of a magazine is about £2, maybe more. It's never 50p though, unless it's like, I don't know. I have no idea. I've never come across a magazine which is 50p. But yes, that is all I'm going to say on the front cover of it. Now I'm going to move on to the contents pages. Because magical, everything's fun when you move on to the contents pages. Okay, so basically the contents page, let's go on to this. So this was my prelim one, you can tell because it's so bad. Basically, again, I thought this was an amazing contents page at the time, and I realise now how bad it is and how much better this one is in comparison to this one. So the first thing is that, again, the writing is quite small here. Like, it's quite a bold font, and it's small, which means that it's harder to read because obviously all the words are so close together that you can't read them properly. And I realise now that you should, if you're going to have a smaller piece of writing, you should have it at least like regular rather than bold or thin, because thin, obviously, it's so thin you can't read it. And I realised that. I did a weird kind of effect with the contents as it kind of broke the page down, and I still think that's okay, but it's not as good as I was expecting it, because the word contents should really bulge out and it should be a bright colour, or it should have something different about it, and this one's grey and plain and it just kind of blends in with the whole thing. Also, I really don't know why I chose, again, this is another point, because basically, let's go back to this. Do you remember the beginning point, the fiasco about the having white words on a grey background? We've got blue words on a blue background this time. This one's easier to read, but not as easy as it could be. In this lighting, it looks really easy to read, but actually, when you are looking at it properly, that's quite a light blue right there, and so it's kind of hard to read it. Yes, what am I saying? Also, another point that I realised, and I've learnt about since we started, was that on the side, on the actual contents, there are only about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 articles in this magazine, whereas in this one there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and that's 12, but they're like all double pages or triple pages, or yeah, it goes from, this one goes from page number 1 to 33, whereas this one goes from 1 to 20, and they're broken up from 2, 5, 8, 11, 14, 18, 20. And then we have other ones here. We have, like we do on this one, I liked this effect of having photos, other photos on the contents, so it can draw in the reader. But with this one, I just didn't go with the right photos. I didn't at all. With this one, I edited it really badly, and it looks like something you'd see on Paint, and so that's not the kind of sophisticated thing you would have in a magazine. You would have more properly edited colours on a thing for a magazine, something interesting rather than a girl with question marks around her face. I think that my contents page, I kind of basically, yeah, like, so as I was talking about the top bit, basically the top bit of this one is quite more interesting, and it says inside instead of contents because, I don't know, I felt contents was a bit boring, and in most rock magazines they say inside at the top, so I thought it was a convention, and I learnt that rather than just going contents. That's what they do in magazines, which I've never seen in the magazine. I've never seen it say contents. It's always said inside or something else. I can't think of anything right now. So basically, I did a kind of effect like this, which it's readable. That's the point. It is readable, but it is different and it's interesting and it draws in the reader. Also, notice I didn't put blue on a blue background this time. I put it on a white background, which blended in well with the background of this photo. Also, when this photo and both photos on my prelim, they had multiple colours due to the books, which didn't fit in with my colour scheme. Whereas with this, these photos, both her hair, like, because I edited it, her hair kind of looks a little bit blue, and her t-shirt looks orange, and it all fits in, and the rest of it kind of looks quite pale, and the brightness and contrast has been upped. So basically, it fits in with my colour scheme a lot more. Yeah, so that's what I've learned about my contents and my front cover. There is the double page spread as well, but I don't have a prelim for the double page spread. So basically, I've already annotated it, so I'm not going to really talk about how much I've learnt about this. But actually, yes, I will. I'll talk about it because I'm going to talk about the time period that we've had, not just the differences. Basically, I've realised because we've been looking at loads of different magazines. I realised that you obviously have to have page numbers at the bottom, and the magazine name at the bottom as well. It doesn't matter if it's quite small, because usually it is quite small because they don't want it to be like, boom, this is our magazine, because they already saw it on the front cover. But I do realise that they always have to have, like most people want, according to my discussion group that I videoed and put up, basically they all said that they wouldn't like a title at the bottom, and they wouldn't like it on the other side of the page. They would want it at the top and over here, like on the left side of the page, because that's how they read across, and so if they see it like that, then they're going to catch it easier with their eye. Also, the title should always be really large, and there should be a kind of caption, what's the word? Oh, I can't remember the word. What's the word? This is gonna really annoy me. Basically, summing up. That's it. What am I saying? Like a caption summing up the whole article. Because yeah, I also learned that in most of the rock magazines or just magazines in general, they do start with a large letter at the beginning, and whenever they're doing articles and they're just doing them with the question and then the answer, they will do the question in a different way. So like they'll either have it underlined or bold, mainly bold. They won't really have it underlined as much, but sometimes they do, just so that the reader can see the question before they know where the question is. And also one other thing that I realised, which I didn't put, like they do it on the front cover as well, the pull quotes. Yay! Pull quote here and a pull quote here and a pull quote on the very front, which we don't have anywhere on here or here. Sometimes they have pull quotes in the contents page, but I didn't put a pull quote on anything on the prelim, which I didn't realise was a thing. I didn't think about it at all, obviously, and I didn't look at any magazines. So basically, that's how my I've progressed and what I've learned. So fonts, colours, image size in general, layout, pull quotes, just the kind of basic things, but I didn't realise them at the beginning, and now I realise them and they're stuck in my brain and they will always be there. So yes, I'm sorry that this was a very long video. If you're the examiner and you're just kind of like, I don't want to watch it anymore, I'm sorry. Yes, okay, sorry for wasting your time. Goodbye! Yay!